Questions like, why are we here? What happens when you die? Where did we come from? And is there a God?
The U.S. government has been shown to have had a long-term interest in Scientology.
This is a practical question here.
I know this is an illusion, or dream, or call it the way you want to call, you know?
We are a bigger threat to the people who are secretly trying to control this planet than any other group on this planet.
But the problem with an atheist is he believes that his belief is based on fact.
Oh, it's wireless. Yeah, you got wireless one.
He's impressive. He's a powerful guy.
I can't make this shit up.
The leaders of this are not just after our church, they're after the whole of this planet.
He was put here to work out his own salvation. And we feel in Scientology that we've made a very big stride in that direction.
Howdy everybody, and welcome to the Indie Scientology podcast. I'm your host Andy Nolch, the Space Cowboy, and isn't it lovely to be here listening to the good old Strauss. This is a podcast that has everything to do with the interesting world of Scientology. Yes, that odd religion you might have heard about. If you don't know what Scientology is, then I'll tell you. It's a bunch of self-help books, not bananas. A bunch of self-help books and mind exercises that evolved into a religion created by American sci-fi author L. Ron Hubbard in the 1950s. That banana reference is a joke between me and my mum. Let's just say she likes correct English. And there's only a bunch of bananas. Today's guest interview is with Rey Robles again. This is part 3. How did you like the last show with Pat Krennick? It was a long time ago. I've been doing some traveling and I've been distracted, but I'm not going to do that again. I really swear this time. I won't have any breaks or anything. You're going to get regular episodes of this podcast, I can assure you that, and I'll kill myself, or you can kill me if I don't do it, okay? I'm going to do it, I promise. No breaks. Oh! Now it's time for us to go down that rabbit hole into the interesting world of Scientology, where up is down and down is up, where left is right and right is left, where what you thought was impossible is possible. Welcome to the show on this Tuesday, the 22nd of October, 2019. I've got an announcement, and it's again very late, but there's a Free Zone Scientology Facebook group, and I actually started it probably over 2 months ago or something, but obviously I haven't, I've had this break, and I shouldn't have had the break. Like when you say it's okay to not do a podcast because you're busy, then of course there's always busy periods that are coming up and stuff, and so you can't just keep on stopping. So now I'm going to have that rule. It's like, no, even if it's busy, I've got to do it. I guess it's kind of like people going in on study and stuff, and that's why Scientology has this thing where, if you can't, if something's come up and you can't do a study session that week, the soup doesn't say, okay, the soup says, so when are you going to reschedule that? Like, when are you going to make up that day? It's a very Scientology thing. You know what I mean? It's like you can't, because they're going by the attitude of, well, if it's okay to give up a study session because of something occurring, then something's always coming up. You know what I mean? And you can see it with me in making this podcast. Let's say it's been going for like 2 years now. Well, there are periods where I obviously wasn't in a busy period and I was making a podcast regularly, right? But then there are heaps of periods where I didn't because I got busy. And so it's just like you can't have the idea that it's okay to just stop doing something when it gets busy, because, I don't know, like 40% of the time of your life is a busy period or something. So in a year, 40% of the days are busy days, so it just enters in too many things. I think you should just go by the idea of unless there's an incredibly unusual reason for you not to be able to do something, then it's okay to skip it. So with me, if I break a leg or something like that, or if I get a disease or something and I'm sick in bed, only then do I have an actual reason to not do the podcast. So that's me. Anyway, this Free Zone Scientology Facebook group, I started it because I noticed that firstly, there was no Scientology Facebook groups that were called Free Zone, which is what we are. That's the word that Hubbard wanted to use. Like, he actually said that to two people, Captain Bill and some other guy. He literally said you should leave the church and start the Free Zone and call it Free Zone because it's free of the church and it's free of governments and it's a free zone. It's like when you're in the airport and you go to the duty-free zone and they have like all the perfumes cheap and all that sort of stuff. It's like it's free. That area is free. Those people can finally sell something without having to worry about government tax and all that stuff. They have those special areas in the airport. Well, this is like a free zone of Scientology where you're just free. You're not controlled and it's not regulated. And yeah, you get wild stuff where some guy pops up and says this is a reincarnation of L. Ron Hubbard. So those sorts of things happen, but you know, it's up to you to work out who you want to go to and up to you to determine whose tech you like and all that sort of stuff. And anyway, so that's what it's called. And also, so that's why I started the group, because of the name, Free Zone Scientology. And also because there are some good Scientology, independent Scientology Facebook groups, but they're just too strict. And they have like extensive rules as to what's allowed to be posted. And it's I don't know, the people who are running these things, I think they're just a bit too strict as to what, you know, you should just be able to post something and not worry about it getting taken down or you being banned from the group or something. And so there's a bit too much of that going on. And so I think we need a group that has more freedom of speech. And in this group that I've started, there's much more freedom of speech. You can really push the limits as to what's allowed to be in that group. I have kicked a few people out who I'm quite certain are OSA trolls. So they got kicked out. All right. But, you know, it's got a lot of freedom in it, you know. So yeah, I just thought I'd say that, and I recommend joining the Facebook group and posting something. Anyway, on with the podcast. We've got an independent Scientology success story, or I should say a Free Zone success story. And this is from the Advanced Organization of the Great Plains in Kansas City. And it says Class 9 Course Success Story. I really enjoyed doing this course in a new unit of time with a standard check sheet in the AOGP Academy. The tech contained on this course is both extensive and powerful. There is a lot to it with many points to apply while auditing the procedures. I appreciate having had the experience and know-how of Jonathan available as my supervisor while training on the material here. I have a better understanding of the rundown as a result. It's great to have done this course with a check sheet, and I'm looking forward to delivering more knots in the future. It's an important step on the bridge, and it is important to do it right. The gains from this level are truly miraculous. Thanks to AOGP and LRH. And that's from JN. And in this interview that's coming up, we talk a little bit about the upper levels. Actually, there is a bit of a confidential data warning for this interview. I don't think we go into it too much, but we go into it. I just couldn't help it. It just happened. I had some questions for him. So that's good, that success story. And I wonder if that was done in the online academy or at the actual org. It's interesting because I'm studying the data evaluators course at the AOGP, and I'm doing that online. But yeah, it's just kind of interesting. So you'd be surprised how much study you can actually do online, because nowadays you can do video calls and all that sort of stuff. The technology really allows for someone to actually train online. Now, it's post of the week. This is from the Association of Professional Independent Scientologists. It's from Michael Moore and the Scientolopedia Facebook group. And that's one of the groups I was criticising earlier, where I think they've got too stricter rules. But that's a good Facebook group. And it says this is not the Scientology you're looking for. And this is by the way a really long post. Ron could not emphasize enough the importance of duplicating the philosophy and technology of application, and to that end, much of the material he wrote is geared towards getting people to simply do it. He said in Safeguarding Technology, Scientology is a workable system. It has the route mapped, the route taped. The search is done. Now the route only needs to be walked. Regardless of the march of time, the basics still stand. The auditor's code, TRs, metering all play an important part in the application of the technology that is the route out of the trap. And, as Ron puts it, the mud it thinks conceived it. So it's just really funny that it's not even funny. It's really pathetic that people think they came from mud and that sort of stuff. I mean, we are just so lied to. Like, when you look into stuff deep, and we talk a bit about this in the interview. It's just bullcrap. People are just bullshitted too, you know. Like, literally, they'll find human skeletons from like millions of years ago, and they'll just cover it up. So there are just people here on this earth, whoever they are, that just don't want us finding out about ancient alien ruins on the moon and stuff like this, and finding human bones that are from like 10 million years ago. It's just like, it's just a crazy situation. And so the average person is just is oblivious to how much they've been lied to and dumbed down and tricked about things. And when you get a lot of this false data corrected, then I guess you can do Scientology and read other out there stuff and just be like, oh, okay. But when you're full of the bullshit lies and confusions, you read Hubbard or something else and you go, well, Hubbard's ridiculous, or, you know, that's ridiculous, you know. But you just like, it's only because you've got that previous, you're sitting with false data in your mind. So when you hear someone talk about Venus and people on Venus or something, you think that's utterly ridiculous, suggesting that people are on Venus, because Venus is like a ball, it's super hot. It's like a planet that's super hot and no one lives there, or something like that. And you're just like, you know, someone like me would be like, who's had my data corrected, is like, look, I genuinely don't know what Venus is. I don't believe it's a hot ball. It might totally not be, because I know NASA's full of crap. And so someone can say something about Venus and I'll say, well, yeah, maybe that's possible, you know. But someone else, like Joe Rogan or something, will probably be like, what? Venus is a hot ball. That's ridiculous. You know, and anyway. It's just a shame. It makes, I guess, selling Scientology harder, because they'll come across stuff and they'll think it's silly because they've been lied to earlier in their life. it's a shame, the situation that the people are in. It's just, I just think back to years ago when I sort of was an atheist and sort of believed in all that rubbish, and it's just such a pathetic way of living your life. Even if it wasn't true, even if the atheist way of approaching life was actually the truth, I would actually probably start advocating people just not to believe in that. Because I'll be like, why believe in something that's just depressing? Like, yeah, it's the truth, but just think this way. It's funner to think this way. You know what I mean? That's what I'll be doing. Anyway, I was watching Professor Brian Cox last night on... Oh, this is so funny he brings up Brian Cox, because he's one of the sort of people I'm talking about, and we sort of talk about these people in the interview, and it's just synchronicity. Anyway, I was watching Professor Brian Cox last night. He's one of these earthling scientists that are just mainstream scientists that are just full of false data. I was watching Professor Brian Cox last night on one of his documentaries, and after an hour or so of excitedly talking about life on other planets and how so many planets had been found that match ours, he ended it all with a very disappointing viewpoint that he considers we are the only life form in the universe, as it was just a lucky chance that two cells got together and created life as we know it. Such a disappointing viewpoint, and such a great sadness that a narrow conclusion be drawn despite all the evidence to the contrary. I mean, it's just so silly, and like, people don't know that it hasn't been recreated. Like, nowhere can they prove it or like show where just banging bits of mess together has actually produced a life form. Like, that you can't see it anywhere. Like, there's life everywhere right now, but you can't in a lab just bang stuff together and then create life. See, if you could, then you'd go, hold on a second. Well, that's probably how these bodies were created and all these fish and all this sort of stuff. Because look, we did it in a lab. We banged crap together and put it in all these different types of environments, and amazingly a cell grew. So then you'd believe in the theory of evolution, but nowhere do we see evidence. So they've got this big theory of evolution and it's just full of holes. It's really missing stuff. You know, it's faulty. It's just not true. It's just a theory. But they don't say that. Professor Brian Cox doesn't say that. You know, anyway. In the first place, apart from the fact that many of us have personal past experience we can call upon, the idea that out of the billions of planets in our galaxy and the billions of other galaxies in the meshed universe, there is only one life form is laughable. The odds against that are excluding the fact that there's just heaps of reports of UFO sightings and alien encounters and all that stuff. You know, and yeah, they're verbal, but it's just like so many times. I mean, when does a penny drop and you go, well, hold on a second. There are just too many damn people who are saying they're seeing crap in the sky and unusual stuff, and people seeing spirits and just like all this unusual stuff. You know, you've got to say there's more going on. Anyway, the odds against that, the odds against that are, no pun intended. Hold on a second. The idea that out of the billions of planets in our galaxy and the billions of other galaxies in the meshed universe, there is only one life form is laughable. The odds against that are, no pun intended, astronomical. Secondly, the current scientific definition of life is very narrow, consisting of meshed bodies only. It's so true. It's like, why does life forms have to be like physical? What if they could just be like some random ball of electricity flying around, or like they could just be anything? When you're thinking about the size of the universe, it could just be anything out there, and just because we've got a mesh body and we think that's a life form, you know. Anyway, I'm getting distracted. The assumption that we are just meat, again, most of us will know from our own experiences that this is not so. Another assumption is that life can only exist in a carbon-based body and environment suitable to sustain that body. And exactly, and it's an absolute joke, because not only on other planets in this universe and on Earth, I mean, there are life forms that are living in the most bizarrest locations in conditions that you just would not expect a life form to be able to live in. So these silly scientists will be like, well, this planet has this livable condition and stuff, and it's just like, so it might have life, and it's just like, it doesn't matter. I mean, even on Earth, we've got stuff living in just bizarre, extreme, really, really extreme locations that mammals could not survive in any way, right? So then, you know, life can, just because you don't have to look for planets that are Goldilocks planets. You could just look for a planet and a life form can live in just bizarre ways that we don't even understand. Anyway, this really is a post of the week and might even be post of the year. Another assumption is that life can only exist in a carbon-based body and environment suitable to sustain that body. No thought is given to the fact that other life forms could exist, or that life rather could exist in other forms other than a carbon-based system. Ideas and concepts surrounding other potential life forms have been well represented in science fiction. Methane-based, for example, or even mechanoid. In fact, as we know, a being or Thetan could animate and exist in pretty much any system designed to be used as a terminal for life. This narrowness of thought is not science, and I can well understand Ron's derision for science on this planet being based on such arrogant assumptions and such a narrowness of thinking. It's so true. In Mission Earth, Hubbard gives away some of his opinions of mainstream science here on Earth, and it's really good because he just trashes it. And he calls Einstein Blindstein as a nickname. Blindstein as a nickname. And it's just so right. I mean, the more I've looked into things and I've heard stuff, the more I've realized Einstein was just a dumbass. I mean, he was. Seriously, I know it's an extreme statement, but I'm telling you, when you look into it, you realize that he was a dumbass and that he actually held back our scientists because he got them into false data and stuff. Scientology, on the other hand, is based on sound, provable principles that, when exactly applied, produce an exact result on a one-for-one basis. Scientology is the only workable system man has. It has already taken people toward higher IQ, better lives, and all that. No other system has. So realize that it has no competitor. I think actually that was a Hubbard quote, by the way. So the Scientology you find in the church or in a squirrel group or with a squirrel auditor is not the Scientology you're looking for. It is a misnomer. Scientology in name only, not in fact. The Scientology you're looking for is that which Ron researched and developed and exported to the world. It is that technical application of the sound philosophical principles of life, the universe, and everything in it that Ron discovered and codified to a point where anyone could use it. This is a quote. What would you think of a guide who, because his party said it was dark and the road rough, and who said another tunnel looked better, abandoned the route he knew would lead out and lead his party to a lost nowhere in the dark? You'd think he was a pretty wishy-washy guide. What would you think of a supervisor who let a student depart from procedure the supervisor knew worked. You'd think he was a pretty wishy-washy supervisor. What would happen in a labyrinth if the guide let some girl stop in a pretty canyon and left her there forever to contemplate the rocks? You'd think he was a pretty heartless guide. You'd expect him to say at least, "Miss, those rocks may be pretty, but the road out doesn't go that way." All right, how about an auditor who abandons the procedure which will make his pre-clear eventually clear just because the pre-clear had a cognition? People have following the route mixed up with the right to have their own ideas. Anyone is certainly entitled to have opinions and ideas and cognition so long as these do not bar the route out for self and others. Yeah, it's very true. It's just like, I noticed that with objectives. It's like, no, you've got to go in there and you've got to continue doing the process and do those hours and actually get it flat and not just rabbit away from that objective process. Steadfastly following the route already painstakingly laid out will take a being from where he is at to a revived awareness of himself and his surroundings. We talk about this, a bit of this during the interview, and restore him to or close to his original state of being. In the interview, we talk about how it's achieving immortality, basically just remembering who you are. Of course, absolutes are unobtainable, and doubtless there is more bridge to move up to, but there is also another area where one can expand one's beingness. It is not just about the first dynamic. There are the other 7 dynamics, and working on them and enhancing them through good works and enhancing their survival is also a case gain and an expanded awareness and abilities waiting for the being to experience. So this is a quote, I think. So put the feet of students and pre-clears on that route. Don't let them off of it, no matter how fascinating the side roads seem to them, and move them on up and out. Squirreling is today destructive of a workable system. It not only benefits the individual, him or herself, it also benefits the community as a whole, and also mankind and other life forms in this universe. And that was from Safeguarding Technology, and that's the end of the post of the week. Good post. It's now time for a Scientology joke. All right, Scientology. All right, hold on. I'll get this right. Hold on. I don't want to stuff this one up. Okay. Scientology, the only religion that works even more on holidays. I think that was pretty funny because it's true. It's an interesting religion where we actually work more on holidays. We just don't respect holidays. It's a whole different way of approaching life. It's like 24/7 work. Okay, it's now time for today's guest interview with Rey Robles. It's part 3. We discuss, well, you already got a bit of an idea of some of the stuff earlier that I mentioned. Look, it's good. That's all I need to say. We're going to do another one in the future because I didn't quite get all the questions answered that I needed. Let's dig into this, chuck on a big pot of tea, and let's hear some talk about the world's most interesting and controversial religion, Scientology.
After all, we haven't been invited, and curiosity often leads to trouble. Goodbye, Dinah. Goodbye.
Today's guest interview is with Rey Robles again. He is a highly trained auditor, has been in Scientology for years, and he runs the yearly Theta Alliance convention.
formerly the Free Zone Convention, which has been meeting annually since 2001. Ray has pretty much completed both sides of the bridge. So I've got him here for plenty of questions to ask. Rey Robles, are you there?
I'm here.
Yay, great. So have you pretty much completed both? What's that?
I said in Reno, Nevada, USA.
Yeah. So have you pretty much completed both sides of the bridge?
Yes.
Cool.
Then some.
And some more, yeah. So I know that Captain Bill talks a bit about when you get up to like OT8 or something, you start to know what is going to be coming, and like he says something like, you know, case wise, you start to know what's coming, and then you start to run it. Like you could, like he almost says, you can start writing your own bridge or something. Do you know much about that?
Well, there's two concepts you talked about right there. One is that you create this void by getting rid of the stuff you're working on, and the next level implodes in. You know, say like you're working on grade 0, and after a while you start looking at problems in life. Well, that's grade 1. See, so the next level comes in, and after you clear it out, grade 0. Same with other OT levels. And the other concept you're talking about is, the bridge is pretty much LRH's bridge that he not only put together, but he felt that everybody had in common. And once you finish that, guess what? You can start working on your own bridge, handle your own stuff, which a lot of these things are found in the earlier materials of Theta Clear and OT Theta Clear and Life Continuum and Bridge Rundown, which you ran into recently. A lot of specialized rundowns that you should do.
Okay, so it is.
Answer your question.
Yeah. So it is kind of like you get up to that high level, and although that there is almost like not really any tech written of what to do when you're up at that high level, you notice stuff occurring in your case, and then you just deal with it.
No. Well, there is a lot of things to do at that. After you go to 8, you should do maybe the Captain Bill stuff that indicates to you. Maybe you should definitely do a lot of the materials that we found researching the earlier materials, theta clearing, OT theta clear, stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff to do. People don't do it. You got to audit out the rock. And I think we talked about some of this last time.
Yep.
Audit out, other surfax. Usually in the church, you just audit out one service facsimile. Actually, there's service facsimile on every dynamic, and you can even audit out the dynamics. Anyway.
Yeah,
a lot of stuff to do.
But it does get a little bit trickier, because it's like when you're at grade 3 or when you're at OT2, it's really quite simple. You just do exactly what is written. But then it does get into a bit more complex when you've sort of done the prescribed path, and then it's like, you're a bit more free when you're up to like that OT9 level as to what you want to do, like what order you want to go to, and what you should do case wise.
No, you got to look at the formula. PC plus his case. His case is always bigger than him. What you're going to run is what you know about, not what you don't know about. So here comes the value of an expert CS who could exterior from your case and CS your case and CS the next process for you to do. You may not need to do, or maybe the next process isn't theta clearing. Maybe it is something else. Maybe it's another process you can think of, superpower or something like this. And then the good CS would know what you need. And also, you, the auditor, and the CS all have to agree with the audit. And a church is not like that. Church is, this is what your next deal is, and love it or leave it, kind of attitude they got. So
Yeah,
you try to cookie cutter everybody, and that's not the way to do it.
Yeah, I think it seems like a lot of the time when I was getting audited in the church, it was kind of like, oh, this is what I have to do. Like, oh yeah, this is what you have to do. Like, you're sitting there as a PC in the chair, and you're like, oh, okay, we've got to do this now. And it's like, I guess that it's kind of wrong, because it's like the PC is not really, I don't know.
Involved.
Yeah.
You're not involved. They don't ask you. They don't care. It's all designed to maximize the amount of time and effort in there, and to maximize how much money they can make out of you. For example, there was a guy when I was online as a CS. There was a guy who would run the marathon, 26 miles, right? Long marathon, 26 miles. He was a young guy, never took drugs. You're going to tell me he needs a purification rundown? No, he doesn't need it. He doesn't need it. People, they forgot why it was even created. It was created to get toxins and drugs that were stopping a guy from winning in processing, and LSD and stuff like that. So they would CS this guy, and they did, for the purification rundown, and it was total waste of time and money. But that's what they do. They maximize your time in there to make as much money as they can.
Well, there's a public
robots. They're robots. They're robotic about the whole thing.
Yeah. And also, of course, they're going to be if there's a course that they can sell, of course they're going to sell it. They're not going to say, oh, we're not going to accept that GI that week. Of course they're going to be like, yes, let's get in for this, let's get in for that, and that sort of stuff, because they need to get the stats up. So anyway, there's this naturopath in Melbourne called Narita James, and not only has she done the Purif probably more than once in the past, she's also a naturopath, and takes everything that's organic, and she probably has done all these other types of detoxes. And I remember when she was getting forced to redo her Purif because of the golden age of Tech 2, and she resisted for a while, but then she ended up redoing it anyway. But she's probably what you're talking about, where her body isn't weighed down by toxins. She's like super healthy, and she's like the healthiest 62-year-old you could think of. Right. But anyway, I was going to say something, but I forgot.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Oh. Damn, I had a good question there. Let me see. Hold on a second.
You probably have others there, right?
Yeah, I have a bunch of other ones.
I only have till 8 o'clock to deal with you.
Oh, okay. So this will be a short one.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, what do you think? Because I remember we talked about OT8 and how you'd you worked out what OT8 is, and it seems pretty good what you've got there, right? What about OT9? Have you worked that out?
Yeah, we did OT9, but you didn't have you didn't do OT3, did you? Did you do OT3 yet? Did you do OT3 yet?
What do you mean, like me personally?
Yeah.
No,
well,
no. But last time we were talking about OT8 and how the church has some sort of shorter version of it, and you put it together and fix it up so that you have what LRH intended for OT8. Well, do you have what LRH intended for OT9?
Yes, I do. OTA, there's about 3 OT8s that have come out. One was 1969, White Peyton's Mock-Up by L. Ron Hubbard. And then the other ones came out by the church way after Hubbard's passing. And we have those two. And they're good. They're quite interesting. I did them all. And then OT9 has to do with the beginning of Time Track and why it started and who started and what was your participation in it, if any, and all that stuff. So it's quite more than quite interesting.
Do you actually have written documents or lectures for OT9 that are by LRH?
Yes.
So
not lectures. I got a document. I got paper.
So you're saying you actually have the proper OT9?
Yes.
Okay, and are you willing to say how you got that? Because it's like the church didn't release it or anything, or
no, it's out there. It got smuggled out by somebody, not me, and it was going to come out in a court. In fact, it did. It came out in a affidavit, so it's public. But no one knows how to audit the thing. You know, how do you audit this thing? I mean, I could tell you about engrams, but how do you audit it? How do you audit out engrams? And that's where a good CS and a good technician comes in. And anyway.
So so you have materials that actually say that are by LRH that actually says this is OT9 and this is what you do.
Yes.
That sounds pretty good. So that means that we've got OT9 in the free zone.
Yes.
Okay.
I also have it in writing by David Mayo that he didn't develop OT9, 10, 11, 12. The church never developed all that stuff. Obviously, they never released it. But David Mayo says that Hubbard he had notes on it, but he never developed it. He was waiting for David Mayo to develop it. David Mayo got kicked out of the church, and it was never developed. So we went back to look at, let's look at some of this older material, some of this material about theta clearing, OT theta clear, because our goal was immortality. See, the goal is immortality. I don't know what your goal is, but that's the goal we have here. It's not to clear the planet or anything like that. You know that the goals of the church and the whole technology changed throughout the years. I got in 1969. I'll talk about this in a little bit. And Dianetics, you look at Dianetics, the goal of Dianetics is to help mankind get rid of his engrams and make a better man and increase his survival. It was all about survival. And that's the first 4 dynamics. You're talking about survival. Well, Thetan doesn't need survival. He needs immortality. See, Thetan's going to survive. We all died before, and we'll die again, at least body-wise. What Thetan needs is immortality. And so anyway, it went from Dianetics, helping mankind, survival better, and all that. And then it went from, I got it right here. 1952. It's called it's on the Sand Hill Special Briefing Course. In Between Life, that's the name of the tape. And number talks about the real reason Scientology is here, which is to rehabilitate the bigger beings on this planet. Later on, the goals changed to Hubbard created the Sea Org, I think it was 66 or 67. And it was, we're taking over, let's take over the planet. Let's put ethics in on the planet. Let's take it over. See how it changes. And in the 80s, it changed to let's clear the planet. I think it was 80s, somewhere around there. I don't know what their goals are now.
Well, I mean, they would still be trying to do the clearing of the planet because they're trying to do the ideologue thing. So, they're trying to do the whole ideologue program so that then they have the proper mess in order to clear the planet. So they've put a goal in before clearing the planet of make all the orgs ideal.
Yeah, I think it's a pack of lies. They get a bunch of millionaires to buy their big buildings, and their big buildings are empty, and not very many people in them. The goal is to make money, is to appear to be expanding and so forth, but they're not. They're not even teaching, I heard, the briefing course or making auditors. No, it's just another lie. You know what their goals are. I think the goal is to make a lot of money, and that's what they're doing.
I think that's a good point that you said. You said that the goal of Scientology is immortality because it's like.
No, I didn't say the goal. I didn't say the goal of Scientology is immortality. I didn't say that.
What'd you say?
Well, I said that's our goals. That's what our goals are out here. What we're trying to do out here in the independent field, as far as my center goes. Their goal is to either clear the planet or make more money, and that's quite different.
Okay, well, I feel like that's actually my goal with Scientology is the immortality thing because it's like we're Thetans and we we're immortal no matter what. But the problem is that we forget, and so it is as if we die and then are reborn, right? So the thing is that I want to be immortal. Like I want to be able to keep my memories and all that sort of stuff and be able to remember and all that stuff. And that's kind of my goal with Scientology because, when I drop the body, I don't want to just be reborn again, No.
Right. So you have to handle these three things in the case. The gain immortality. That's getting rid of your amnesia.
Yeah.
Who you are. I mean, where you came from. Who are you really? You got to get rid of your amnesia. The way to get rid of that is by getting rid of the implants and engrams and so forth. Then you got to get rid of, it may not be in disorder, but you also got to get rid of any contamination of implants and other things that you are contaminated with that are in your universe. OT3 stuff, knots, OT spiritual stuff. And then you gotta get control. Get control of your life, get in control of your mind, and get in control of all 8 dynamics. You gotta expand and get in control of all the dynamics. And if you're in control of your first dynamic, but not in your second, you're not gonna make it out. You're not gonna make it out. If you're in control, good control of your dynamics, and you know what they are, and you have become them. It's just like, when you're, I'm sure you guys have football over there, right? Soccer?
Yep.
Right? Soccer. Well, soccer players are all individuals, but as soon as the ball goes into play, they become a team. You become a third dynamic. You're operating as a team. So you got to operate on these other dynamics the same way. You have to become the 8th dynamic, you see. That's how you become more cause over the physical universe. And so we use the tech toward that, not toward a stat, not toward clearing the planet. How many people were born last month on the planet, Close to 1 million. How many people were cleared?
Yeah.
Probably count one hand, right? Not too many. Is the planet going to be cleared? In my opinion, no. That's not what it's designed for. I mean, it's not cleared. And what is clear? Well, the first definition of clear that I know about, they've changed the definitions of clear, by the way. Clear was an ability, not a cognition, not a realization. It was an ability to be cause over your own mental mind, right? So you move up the dynamics, you be cause over, say, positive on the second, third, fourth, fifth, all the way up to the eighth dynamic. And that's how you become an OT. Okay. Am I going too fast?
Nah, sorry.
You follow?
Yep.
So if you're talking about immortality, that's what I'm talking about. Getting rid of the amnesia effect, become more in control. And, there's more in one, all your minds. So, like there's more in one. You read about the analytical mind, right? When you think with the reactive mind, the somatic mind, or there's an aesthetic mind. There might be in a criminal mind you might have. You got to get rid of. There's these other minds, you see. You might have a lot of these different compartment minds, surfact mind, so you got more surfacts than just one. So you have to get rid of this stuff. So a lot of people, they go up to Braves and they go up to knots, OT7. They think they're done. They're not done. They just started. I mean, they're done if they're happy with that. That's fine. But us guys who want their immortality back, they don't want to lose conscious of who they are and who they were, and they want to know. You want to know where you're going to land next lifetime. See? You don't want to land in the middle of dark Africa somewhere, or some other
North Korea
planet, or what? Korea? Yeah, you don't want to land in Korea. No. That's worse than South Africa, somewhere in the bush. Korea, or anyway. So you get the drift on this.
Yeah, it's just a really good thing. Immortality is the goal, because I just feel like that's totally what it is with me, because it's like, I don't mind if I forget how to drive a car, after I die, I forget how to drive a car, or I forget who my grade 1 teacher was, or, what's important, or forget like an OT ability, right? To like move an object with my mind. It's like I would like to keep these sorts of things, right? But, that's kind of okay if I lose them. But what's really bad is if I forget. That's the worst thing ever, if I forget totally who I am and everything. That's the worst thing. I don't want that,
What causes forgetfulness? Well, there's several things. OWs, overits, withholds, implants, engrams. GPMs, goals, problems, mass. All these things can be looked up in the tech dictionary, and they all cause amnesia. And if you don't clear them out, you're going to have amnesia forever.
What do you think of Skype auditing? Do you think you can get wins off auditing online? Because I mean, if I think about when I did the grades, it was really me sitting in a chair and talking to someone. I didn't need anyone to stop me from running out of the auditing room. I just sat there and spoke, and I could see how it could work online over a Zoom call like what we're doing now. So what do you think of that?
Well, if you're a Cadillac PC and you can as is, and you can look at your case, and you can look at past lives. And have you seen any past lives?
Sort of.
Yeah, right. No, you have to get to a point where you can really, it's really certain. That's what it was. So you get a guy who's pretty able. Theoretically, I think it could work to some degree. I've seen people, not in my sessions, but I CS, a lot of people, but There are times where people did throw down the cans and run out of the room. How are you going to stop them? You know, you're not going to pick up really able guys who can't even show up for session and or give you some exchange. They're going to want to do it pretty cheaply. It's real easy to sit at home and they don't have to confront too much. No, I wouldn't do it. I tried it once. I got some good results, but nothing like somebody in front of you. But some auditing is better than no auditing. Right?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
I mean, you're clear all the way to Australia. You have the means to get here. Do I have the means to get there?
Yeah, that's the thing, because here in the free zone, you know, it's like it's a very internet thing. And, you know, because we don't have orgs in every city, it's just like it's lending itself to a lot of online auditing. And I think that I could see how it can work, right? I don't think it's necessarily good to just do your whole bridge online, but I could see how if somebody needed half an intensive or like a session here and there, I could see how you could, you know, and if the person isn't a problem PC, I could see how you could put in a bit of online auditing and it wouldn't cause problems.
Yeah, in fact, there's a meter you can buy where the guy picks up the cans over there and you're able to see the needle react, you know, to what he's talking about. So yeah, I would try it again if circumstances were, like I said, you know, the guy could not get here. I would be kind of picky who I do it with, because, you know, I want to guarantee a result, you know. I have a real good reputation, and I want to make sure that I give that person a good result. I wouldn't do it with a iffy PC, you know, who's on the brink of insanity or something. You know? Auditing, you know, Scientology is for the able. You know, I've heard that all my life, and I finally got it one year. I finally got it. See, if you're not able enough, see, there was somebody the other day that brought me a PC, for example. The person couldn't hardly walk. Very dispersed, very insane. She needed a lot of medical help before I even audited her. So, not very able.
Now, what about? I've heard
I didn't audit her, by the way. I didn't audit her.
Okay, yeah. So what about I've heard with superpower that some people take a really long amount of time or something. I remember I had a soup when I was in the church who I think took a lot of time on superpower, and I think she seemed kind of aberrated, really, the way she was approaching things as a soup. Like, she didn't help get the stats up. She, if anything, was pushing stats, and it was pissing students off, and the course room got less. And also, she was doing a bit of like talking about the tech to the students and like saying her opinion of the tech and all this stuff. And it was stuff that now I know is just completely wrong from a soup. But I mean, have you noticed that some people can't run superpower, or they need they actually need some sort of undercut, or when they go to run it, their cases aren't ready for it?
I wouldn't know how to answer that, because I don't know what they're doing in the church.
Well, have you noticed outside the church, like with PCs you've had on superpower, that sometimes people aren't set up for it, case-wise?
No, it was designed to be audited. I got the first briefing on superpower way back in late 70s, you know, before it was released to the public.
Sorry, I might be getting L's confused with superpower, by the way. Sorry, I thought I might have totally stuffed up that question. So I don't know if I'm asking about superpower or L's. I think it might be the L's actually.
Well, they've changed the L's. I got I got Pierre's L's. You know, it's quite a different, and it's a little different. It's more expanded. I mean, you can do almost all of that stuff forever. No, I just you just go to the end phenomena of it, and that's it. You know, but yeah, they're in there for a long time. They make a lot of money on it. Yeah, you could invent processes and audit people for almost forever because they've been accumulating a case for almost forever. So you can make a lot of money doing that, and that's what they do in the church. Now, any church product, I've never seen a good church product in the last 20 years. When Hubbard was on lines, they came up with some OTs and some pretty good products, but anyway, that's my
okay. But what about have you noticed that some people run into problems when they do the L's, like in the free zone, and it's because they actually did the L's when their case wasn't set up for it?
Well, it depends who they're getting it from. Most people, a lot of guys, you know, get the L's out of off the internet, and they're not the actual original L's. So who knows what kind of results they are? I mean, the results are sometimes bad. See, so you can't judge. Oh, those are the L's. I don't want them. No, who audited them, and was that guy trained? See, there's people out there auditing L's that were never even trained to audit this stuff. You know, that's the problem with the free zone. See, when I got out of the free zone, I found people who were trained by LRH or in the LRH orgs, and I got the original materials, and that's all I audit. I do not audit the scavenge technology, golden error of Scientology. I call it the golden error, like error, mistake.
Oh.
I don't audit their stuff, so they're going to have a different result than me, and it's usually bad. So you got to watch who's auditing you, did they get trained, and who trained them, and where they get the materials. See? And usually it's somebody who just wants to make some money instead of really getting the product. See, really freeing this guy. Because if they really, really wanted to be professional, good auditors, they would find the original technologies and they would get trained on it, like I did. And it's the only way to do it. See, I've done internships in the church, out of the church, worked under people. But, see, I'm a full-time guy. See, I don't do anything else. See, I don't do real estate. I don't do this. I don't do that. That's all I do. And so that's what it takes, you know, just like if you're going to be a professional fiddle player, you know, that's you better get on with that and do it, you know, not do it part-time.
Okay, but do you find with the L's, like, it there's, I mean, what does the text say? There's probably a bunch of prerequisites that a case needs to have in before they do the L's.
Yeah, the prerequisite was grade 4 or OT4. In fact, you shouldn't even do L12. Excuse me. Excuse me. I'll sneeze there. You shouldn't even do L12 if you if I don't give a guy L12 unless he's done at least OT3. And that's the way it was done originally in the church, flag, or even L11. You can give him L10 after grade 4, but you shouldn't give them these other higher levels. And it's because of this. Hubbard states that the reality is proportional to charge off. And the more charge off you have, the easier it is to see these things you got to see. on these higher levels. The L's were taken from the OT8 he was working on, and so it's really probably you can get into it, and you could like run shallow with it, and that's how you come out with bad products and people you probably run into and you know what not do with.
All right. So I kind of already know the answer to this, but so Ronzorg seems to go up to like OT3, and it's like classic LRH, and then it goes to like Excalibur, right? And Excalibur's kind of like Captain Bill's like combined OT 4, 5, 6, or 7 or whatever into Excalibur, right? But then I think Ronzorg goes into OT9 or something like that. But Ronzorg doesn't seem to have your OT8, does it?
No, it don't.
Yeah.
No.
So it's like, so if you want to get LRH's OT8, right, you would need to go to you.
Correct. On OT9, because no one else is doing it. No one else is doing it, as far as I know. In America and Europe or anywhere else doing the OT8 stuff or the OT9 or superpower or no, not superpower. Yeah, superpower or what's the other one? Data clearing and all those other ones.
Well, I mean, there are people doing superpower though.
You see that? These are higher levels. All the processes and technology is there by LRH, but is anybody doing that? No.
So what do you start at the bottom and you work your way up to number 7?
Yeah. They start at the bottom and then you go up to theta clear. We made some of those. Then you go clear OT, and then you just move up.
Now hold on a second. Where's clear then? Just the standard level of clear.
Well, the clear we do is the Scientology clearing course, which is not done.
But where's that on your thingo?
Well, it's below this. It's below this.
Oh, okay. So this is all OT stuff.
Oh, after OT8 9.
Oh, really? Interesting.
Yeah.
So is OT9 or which one achieves the state of theta being?
Theta being.
Yeah, is that what you get at OT8 or what?
Theta being. Oh no. This is after OT8 9.
Okay.
Theta being. Yeah, theta being. It's after OT.
Okay. Now, is there any? Yeah, then you go up. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So, is there any OT level? Because I know Pierre says that like OT 11 or something like that. I don't know where he got it from or why he knows what's in OT 11 or whatever. But he says that sort of deal or something like that. He says it deals with remote viewing or something like that. Now, it seems like...
Who said that?
Pierre. Pierre says that there's some level that deals with remote viewing, right? Now, it seems like some of the BT stuff has to do with sort of remote viewing stuff, right? But is there any classic level or anything you know of that deals specifically in remote viewing? But obviously it wouldn't be called that, but it's basically training you in that ability.
No.
So how do you think Pierre got this idea? That, like, how did he get OT 10, 11, and 12 or something like that? Because he seems to write down on some... I remember reading something by him where he thinks he knows like what's in those levels or something, and it's like, did he have access to some special upper level stuff?
I'm trying to answer that question of yours about remote viewing. Probably somewhere around operating Thetan, cleared, theta clear. You should be able to remote view quite easily. But you could be trained to remote view before without doing these particular techniques. You know.
Okay.
See, you should just operating static. You know, you should just know, and it's called no point. Hubbard calls it no point, where you just know. If whatever you put your attention on.
I get what you're saying, but I'm trying to say, like, is there any level on the bridge or above OT9, the stuff you've got, that specifically trains you in remote viewing?
Well, remote viewing is a term that was created by the Scientologists and the
government,
Major Dane, the U.S. Army, and so it's not a Scientology term. The only thing close to it would be no point, or where Thetan just knows what he's trying to know.
Okay, let's put it this way.
There's no remote viewing type.
Okay, let's say someone's listening to this, right, and they want to get the ability as fast as possible to just be in the house next door and see what's in the house next door spiritually, right? Not using their body. Now,
exteriorization?
Yes. What level do they have to get up to where they can get that ability?
Okay. Well, you have to rehabilitate that ability. If you have it, you have it. Some people do not have it. Do not have that ability. See, one of the things you got to get rid of is this idea that Scientology Dianetics works on anybody, and we could all go back to being gods, and we could all achieve all these
levels.
Yeah. No, Scientology is about rehabilitating. You heard the term to go OT, you have to be OT?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You ever heard that?
It's true.
It's true. Because, see, it's for you. It's for people who already are OT. We're trying to get rid of the mental blocks so you can be an OT again. Now, there are some beings who never were an OT. Sorry to say it. Well, yeah, never were OT. Never want to be an OT. They're glad to be humans. They're glad to be mess bodies. They're into, doing mess stuff, And but when they look at us, people who are trying to be OT, trying to be cause, trying to exteriorize,
they don't get it.
They get no, they don't, because they don't want to get it. Also, deep down, they hate us because that's too much power for them. Oh. They don't want anybody like that having power like that.
Are you talking about mess beings?
Pardon?
Are you talking about a mess being's opinion of an OT being?
Yeah, mess beings versus theta beings. People who are exterior from their body.
This is a big statement that you're making, though, that some people doing Scientology won't go exterior.
No. If they do, no. It's not for everybody. It's for the able. See? Is to rehabilitate the Thetan. Want me to read this right here real fast? It says, the Galactic Confederation, which is like ETs running around out there, depend on organizations, sizes of armies, etc., and available OTs to command units. This is what the repair OTs. This is LRH. This is why Scientology was here, for one of the reasons it got here.
Wow, is that a whole quote? Could you read that whole thing? Because here's the thing. I mean, the Galactic Confederation does exist.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does exist. I mean, it's just like, I don't know if it's in this messed universe we've got, or if it's in some other universe or some other dimension?
Oh, no, it's here. It's here. It says here, and it's off the Between Life tape on the Signal Special Briefing course. I don't know. I didn't write down the date. It says, quite interesting because the Galactic Confederation is up against a problem of great magnitude. It runs out of OTs. Their basic technology says that the problem of conquest, the problem of maintaining our position. He says our position. So he's part of the galactic. This is why his mission was to come down here and do this.
Yeah, and by the way, this isn't unusual. There are heaps of people here on Earth right now that say they are on a mission here on Earth and they're from some other place.
Yeah. Where is that? Okay. It depends on its availability of OTs to command units, and that is the limiting factor of how much and how broad and how big the Galactic Confederation can be. And this is taught. This is pounded into everyone's head. Not once in 80 trillion years has anybody ever said, well, if that is the case, meaning lack of OTs, right? Why don't you repair some of the limited OTs and get them patched up and up to snuff? Limited OTs. There's not that many OTs. There's not like, I tell you this, but only 1 out of 10,000 can go up to OT8.
Wow, hold on a second. That's a big statement. Hold on a second. So
that's an LRH statement. And,
really?
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. You don't see a bunch of people lined up here in front of my house.
Yeah, I know, but let's just say suddenly Scientology became more popular and you did have a bunch of people lined up. Are you saying that not everyone actually could get to OT8? Like they just would run into some sort of problem and they wouldn't be able to get up there?
Yes, I've seen it when I was in the church. Wow. I got up to OT7 in the church, the original OT7. And then I did the knots and stuff in the church too. But I got up to OT7 and I looked around. Not many people were able to do the original OT levels because you had to be exterior. You had to go exterior. You had to operate as an OT, a power of intention. You had to exercise. You had to prove it. You can do all this stuff. Wow. And no longer fixated from I think OT5. No longer fixated from mass. You were like so. Very few people can do them. They fell flat in their face. They couldn't do them. There was only a small, I think about 1,500 on the whole planet that did them. And so all these other rundowns had to come up. Hubbard had to keep trying to find ways to get the guy to OT. But there's not that many OTs.
That's really interesting.
You go down to your local city and see how many people are really running your city. There's only a few people really running it, being causing it. And same with the country, same with the planet. All right. If you're one of these OTs, rehabilitate yourself, get all the OTs, all the processes you can, and you'll be up there again. And should you worry about the humans? No, don't worry about them because they probably couldn't do this stuff anyway. All right.
Can I quickly say something? But I wanted to say something. So you're kind of saying that Scientology is like karate, but like, let's say you wanted to take people to the highest level of training in karate. Some people literally don't have the bodies to achieve that higher level of karate. Just some people, as they go up through, there'll be some point where they stop and they cannot achieve that super high level. Scientology seems to be like a spiritual version of that.
Well, it's Hubbard calls it the thing evens out. He goes as far as he can go, and he evens out, and he can't do that. It's like trying to get you to run 26 miles right now. Can't do it. But some people can. As a thing, some people could remote view quite easily. I've been to remote. I got trained under Major Ed Daines to remote views just to see what they were doing, and there were a few people there that could do it in the classroom. And
I noticed this when I saw the films by the Farsight Institute. He would use the same remote viewers, and I was like, I know why he's using them, because they're damn good remote viewers, and he obviously doesn't have a huge array of people to choose from who can achieve this amazing ability that they have in their films that they make. Some of these dudes in their films will be on Mars 10,000 years ago or something and actually communicate with alien beings while they're exterior and remote viewing. Yeah. It's amazing, you know?
Yeah. Well, see, not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
See, now if you have a natural ability to do that, then we could audit you and audit out your mental blocks about it or your spiritual blocks about it, and then you'll be able to do it. Okay? But if you never were an OT, maybe you were made by some god, maybe you were cloned or something, and you can't do it.
This is interesting.
But the church gives you a false idea.
Yeah,
that everybody can do it. Everybody can get up to OT, and that's the hook, right? And that's the lie, and that's how they get a lot of people in.
Yet ARC breaks certain people because they get to a point in their ARC broken because they feel like a loser or something. But I think everyone should try and get to the best that they can be.
Yeah, it's a false promise. You see, I don't promise anybody anything. Hubbard said himself, I don't promise you'll get there. You know, but I give you the information and a chance to do it, and it's up to you to avail yourself of it. So he knew. But these people who do get in and do help out, and we definitely are appreciated. I mean, people land up here and they can't do a lot. I know they ain't going to be able to go all the way or make it to these OT levels. But they could get some benefit from it. Anybody can get a benefit from the purification rundown or doing objectives or running some engrams out if they can even see past lives. Anybody can get some benefit from ARC straight wire, self-analysis, the philosophy, anything, you know. So, you know, you help people as much as you can. And only 1 out of 10,000 to get there, yeah. But I don't know. Looking at you, I don't know if you're one of the out of the 10,000. How far you go depend. That will tell me. You know?
My case is more interesting because actually I think that I'm in a different situation where I'm here on a mission. I'm actually programmed to do certain things. So a part of my program actually might not be to achieve the remote viewing ability because that's not what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to do something else. And I've been teed up and had certain blocks put in so that I go in a certain direction. So I won't get necessarily offended if I can't achieve the exteriorization and remote viewability because it's like, Andy, you're not supposed to, you idiot. You're supposed to do something else. And we put in these blocks so that it forces you to do what you're supposed to do. So anyway, I think I'm an unusual case, but I think there might be some people out there who might feel upset if they can't achieve these abilities. And I think that they shouldn't really be upset. I think they should just realize that there might be more to their experience here on Earth.
Well, one of the things is that I thought when you were talking about that is that, if you were on a mission and you're not supposed to do certain things, doesn't that violate your self-determinism, you know? And why don't you just complete your mission, then you can do this stuff. But this stuff can, what I'm saying is, if you have the potentiality to be an OT or theta clear or operating static or whatever. If you have that potentiality, you can achieve it with these higher levels of Scientology, Dianetics.
Yeah, and do you want to finish that quote? Finish
Pardon?
that thing. Finish that thing you were going to read.
Yeah. As well. Okay, so you have a limited amount of OTs, and he says, well, if that's the case, why don't you repair some of your limited OTs and keep them patched up and up to snuff? Why don't you know something about it? See, they know this is a pressing problem. They mean the galactic people, right? But they have no such technology. It doesn't exist. There's no technology that they have, the galactic people. All right, if the technology is that vital of how do you untrap somebody? How do you push somebody back to battery after a horrifying experience? If it's that vital, why doesn't somebody work on it? And he says, basically, they're afraid of the technology. People do not work on this technology that I have here because they're afraid of it. Why are they afraid of it? Because deep down, they know what they would do if they got it, because they've done some naughty stuff. So that's why you got to like clear up all the stuff they've done, which is Dianetics, and what's been done to them, what they've done, what they witnessed. But a lot of people don't want to look at their time track. I don't have one. And yes, they do. And they got a bunch of implants, and they got a bunch of stuff they need to work on. But so they're afraid of the technology because the technology is going to free them up to become OT again. And they know what they'll do if they're OTs, bad boys and little girls. So you got to clear it up, you know. You got to study ethics. You got to study PTSness. You got to know all this stuff. You got to get yourself handled. But I'm not afraid of technology. And here in Reno, we're not afraid of technology. We just keep studying it and doing it.
Yeah, and we were talking about OT abilities, but let's say just logic, which I think is heavily tied into it. Do you believe it's similar in logic where you can teach them the student hat, teach them a data evaluators course, get them smarter, but if they're naturally not that very logical, they're just not going to get it. Like, I personally think, because I noticed this, you can get people more logical, but I feel like you can just get them to a point. They've either got logic or they don't. What do you think about that?
Well, they have to do the logic course, you know. A lot of people don't do logic courses. They got to do the key of life. A lot of people don't do that. In fact, it's not even offered in the church anymore. Data eval course. That's the one that really makes you, cleans up your analytical mind and makes you smarter. Yeah, that's what they got to do.
Yeah, but do you think some people can never become as logical, let's say, as Hubbard? Like, do you think it's similar? Like, we're talking about the spiritual abilities, where it's like some people can just get better and get to the top of their certain range. Do you think that logically some people can just get to the top of their range and they're just not that logical? Because I've noticed that in life, certain people, they just don't have it. They just don't have that ability. And I'm sure these courses would help them, and that they really should do these courses. But I think that they'll never get to an impressive level.
Well, there is such thing as positive case gain, and you get that on the original T levels. And if you do these courses, like I just mentioned, yeah, you might potentially you should be able to get there. But it takes work, takes time and energy. People are so addicted with entertainment that to put off entertainment, to read a book or to study, it's very difficult for them these days.
Yeah.
You know, the stumbling block is entertainment, PTSness to all the negative stuff they heard about Scientology. All that stuff stops them. Don't stop me. I've gone on, and some people I know that are connected with us have gone on and are quite successful in life.
All right, now you've got to get going soon, don't you?
Yeah.
How about
That's okay. Pretty soon, I'll give you another 15 minutes. That's it.
Okay, well, since we're on this topic of sort of the upper level stuff, how about I ask you this question and you can answer it if you want to or not. Would it be correct to say that the upper level Scientology levels deal with ghosts?
With what?
Ghosts.
Yeah. I didn't get that.
Would it be correct to say that the upper level Scientology stuff deals with ghosts?
Ghost?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh, time's up. Deals with ghost. Upper levels, like what upper levels?
Well, would it be correct to say that the OT levels, like around OT3 or whatever, deals with ghosts?
No. No, don't.
What about OT6, 7, 8? What about Excel? Do they deal with ghosts?
Potentially, but not. No, don't address ghosts. No. They address certain areas of the case, but not ghosts. No. In fact, there isn't any place that deals with ghosts that I know.
Well, if you're dealing with beings, okay. Now that you said no to that question, you've opened up
OT9 might deal with something like that, but no. Sorry.
But if you're dealing with beings that are in your vicinity, wouldn't you say that's dealing with ghosts? Or, okay, I guess you're going by the definition of ghost as in it's a full-blown being and you see it walking across the room as like a shade of energy or something like that. So I guess it doesn't deal with that.
No.
So let's say you've got someone who's on these higher levels.
I could deal with it. I could help you deal with it because I've dealt with them.
Yeah, but let's say you've got somebody who's on these higher levels, right? And for years they've had their house. Actually, they've had a ghost in their house. Now you're telling me that they could go from OT1 all the way up to OT9, and they won't ever have to deal with that ghost that's in their house.
Well, they should be able to deal with it, but you need a little training to deal with it. You're talking about exorcism and poltergeist activity, and you should be able to. So you need some training, and which I've had, and I've gotten rid of ghosts and in people's houses. I was sent to one day. I was sent to Chicago, and there was a whole bunch of ghosts up in somebody's house, 3rd floor, and the people couldn't even sleep up there anymore. And I just went up there and handled it. But you got to know what you're doing. Otherwise, they're going to come home with you, and they're going to be maybe they can even, if you're not in good shape, they can even possess you. So no, that's a whole nother area, whole nother spectrum. I know Halloween's coming up here, but they do exist, and I've actually called on a ghost just to prove to somebody that there was a ghost. They didn't want to believe it, but we called them, and actually it made noises and stuff repeatedly.
Oh, what sort of noises?
Oh, groans and stuff, move things, gross. Yeah.
And so it didn't materialize.
Well, materialize. That all depends if you can see it or not. I mean, you only can see the human body only sees 20% of the light spectrum. So you don't see all this other stuff that's going on in the other 80% light spectrum, like X-ray and these other lights. So they're there. I've seen them. Other people have seen them. People have seen them.
So my understanding of the OT levels is they deal with beings in a person's vicinity. Now, am I wrong in thinking that?
You're talking about OT3 and OT knots and stuff?
Yeah.
These are dormant type entities. It could be ridges. It could be just something you created long ago and it's still there. These are dormant type things. Maybe a little life bits of pieces there, and you just throw them off. You get rid of them, and that's what it deals with. They're all sleepy, dormant type things, entities that might be there, and you get rid of them. There's a certain way to get rid of them. You don't just get on the meter and tell them to go away. There's a certain way to get rid of them, and that's what it deals with. It doesn't deal with the exteriorized live being who knows, who is aware of being aware, and is standing there giving you crazy thoughts or something, or good thoughts.
Oh, okay, so let's say your house is being haunted, right? And you do have a room where there's a ghost, like a classic ghost, right? And you see, like, occasionally you hear a noise and you see some fuzzy field walk past or something. Now, doing standard tech all the way up to OT9 or whatever, you won't deal with that being in your solo sessions, is what you're saying?
No.
Because okay, that's interesting, because I thought that in these solo sessions, people are dealing with some of these things in their environment like that. Or maybe, I'm wrong.
But the only thing close to that is the Excalibur stuff with Captain Bill. But they're not actually ghosts per se. Some of them are disembodied beings, but it's a whole other ball game. It's not a ghost who's like trapped between this world and the next world. But see, the thing is, all religions talk about ghosts and helpers and angels and devils and demons. All religions on this planet talk about that stuff. I don't care if you're Hindus from India or Protestants or Catholics or whatever, Mohammedanism, whatever it is. They all talk about this kind of stuff. I think they call the jinn in Mohammedanism. Anyway, so it's all, they're there. They've always been there. And no one ever teaches you all this stuff on these higher levels. It's just not in there. But I don't think it comes close to them, maybe OT9. But I teach you. I teach people how to deal with it. Because sooner or later, your eyes as a Thetan get open and you become more and more aware. And you start to notice things.
Okay, so you improve as you go up the bridge and you learn new abilities. And if you did have your house haunted, you could then deal with this. It's possible you could deal with this ghost.
Yeah, but you should have a technique. Being a Scientologist, you always want a technique. You always want a methodology. Why? Because it puts control in the situation. Puts control in the situation because the situation is out of control. This guy's running around making noises and haunting the house. There's out of controlness there going on. You got to put in control, and you do it with ARC, and you do it with Scientology Dynamics Tech, which I've developed, and it can be done. I had a client come in, and she never was in the church, didn't know about OT3 or nothing. She sits down. She goes, I heard about you. I said, oh, okay, sit down. And told her to pick up the cans. And she says, first thing she says is, they're talking to me. And I say, who's talking to you? Well, she had 3 or 4 ghosts talking to her. And she couldn't sleep. They'll be talking to her all the time. This had nothing to do with stuff that's on OT3 or knots or anything else.
Really? I would have thought, this is the whole OT knots case and all that stuff, and the person needs to get ordered. That's what I would have thought.
No. There's beings, that tip in here from other universes. How are you going to handle them?
I thought that's what you. Anyway, go on. What happened with this person?
What happened with her? We got rid of the ghost. She was fine. She, to this day, still thanks me.
How'd you get rid of the ghost?
Oh, I have a technique how to do it. It'd be an hour to talk on that.
Wow, so you actually, one of these people that are hearing voices and stuff, you actually cured one of these people?
Yeah. She was being haunted. Okay. Right.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I've done this for the last 30 years, you know.
Would it be correct to say that the OT levels deal with beings that are so degraded that they're not even ghosts?
Oh, no, they're not ghosts. They're clinging on to you, to your universe, to your case, to your body. Those things you got to get rid of. They create amnesia. They're bad things.
Do you think this is what? Remember how Jesus said some statement that or Jesus was doing some sort of spiritual thing to clear away like flies or demons or something like that? Is this what he could have been talking about?
No, he was talking about things that are like demonic, things that are like demons. You know, he would clear somebody's demons and they'll get well. You know.
Yeah, but hold on a second. My understanding of that was, this must be what this solo knots is and all that stuff.
No, it's not solo knots. It's not any of that. Solo knots are dealing with dormant entities that may be stuck to you, or you may have created.
Yeah, but the Christians are just using the word demon instead, but it's the same thing. It's like some.
No. Demons are live. Demons are live entities that know either were created or know what they're doing. They're awake. You know, they're not dormant, sleepy guys that you're dealing with in knots and OT3. I said this 3 times already. They're separate. They're different.
Okay, so you're saying that there's all this different class of entities. There's all these different. There's basically.
Yeah, you talk to the Catholics. You know, they talk about angels, archangels, demons, and then there's like there's a classification how bad the demon can get too. You know, Hubbard studied this stuff with Aleister Crowley. You know. After I left the church, I went and studied everything Hubbard studied, you know, before he even wrote Dianetics. And one of the things he studied was witchcraft, you see. And that's what witchcraft is, dealing with these demonic beings. Now, you can have white witchcraft, which you're dealing with angelic, good spirits, good ghosts, good angels. And that's a whole nother ball game there when you're dealing with that stuff. It had nothing to do with the knots. It had nothing to do with OT3.
Okay, so some of these demons, because it seems like with the stories with Jesus, some of these demons can cause someone to be blind or something like that.
That's right.
Now, can the stuff that people deal with on these OT levels, once you get it away, can it literally make someone who was blind suddenly see again?
Well, that's what Jesus is doing.
Yeah, but are Scientologists literally having a sore leg or having a headache and then they get rid of this thing and then that actually goes away? Is that what kind of happens, or am I wrong?
You're talking about get rid of demons? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm saying when someone goes in to do their OT levels and their solo sessions and that, and let's say they're blind, or let's say they've got a headache or they've got a sore neck, can they, after they do their special thing, can that actually just suddenly go away like that? Like almost like the way Jesus could cure a blind person. Does a similar thing happen?
I've seen a girl regain her sight and was no longer blind because she did OT3. So I guess it does happen, you know. I gotten a lot of body case gain doing OT3 and knots.
Did you have stuff like a headache go away and a sore leg go away and stuff like that?
I had other things go away, but nothing that heavy. But I've seen other people, their chronic somatics get handled. Yeah, but that's not where it's. That's not where it's. That's not the end phenomena. That's not what you're supposed to handle. Unwanted feelings, sensations, attitudes, and pains with Dianetics.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, well, it's a little bit interesting because it's like they technically, if they've done a proper bridge, they should already have those things handled.
Right, but they don't because they didn't get Dianetics, and that's the Miscavige bridge. That's the bridge that he inherited from David Mayle, and that's the new heir Dianetics, new heir Scientology. And if you want to do that, that's what you're going to wind up with. No, we don't do that. We do the original bridge, and that takes guts, it takes courage, it takes fortitude to do it. Not everybody can do it, and so there you go.
All right, great. Well, I guess we'll wrap this up. And so,
a lot of these guys. Let me say this.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys that SPRS, that those people. What's this other guy who writes on the internet? I'm sure you've seen him. Ortega.
Tony Ortega. Yeah,
Tony Ortega. He called me a wizard the other day. You know that? Not a wizard, sorcerer.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. Thank you, Tony. But if I am a sorcerer, shouldn't you better watch what he says about me?
All right, I'm going to ask you a question about that, but go on.
He told me he was bad-mouthed me or whatever. But these guys never got the real tech, and so that's why a lot of times they sit out there nattering, or they can't even do it. They're so suppressive. You know, I met Tony Ortega once. He was pretty dark. He was drinking a lot. I doubt if he could ever really do Scientology. And these guys try to do it, and then they get nowhere, and they think it's a bunch of BS. Well, it's because they're suppressive, and it doesn't work on them. Work on them.
Yeah, they annoy me because they spread their false data. They say stuff like, it's just what's annoying is that they spread their aberration by looking professional and writing books, and people like Richard Dawkins and stuff. They like lay things down, and it brainwashes people in a wrong direction, and just gives people, it just spreads false data, and then these poor kids grow up as like a 20-year-old as being a full-blown mess being and having no idea about spirituality and all this stuff because they've been reading these stupid books at school and stuff that it's just full of lies.
Yeah. Well, and also the bad technology's been out there since '78, and these guys got some bad tech, and so of course they think it's bad. But it's strange though because there's some people that 1 out of 10,000 still show up and are still willing to get sessions. So there you go. I don't listen to these guys. I know who they are. Most of them have been implanted to stop Scientology, and they're the implanters. People think the implanters were long ago in past track. No, they're reincarnating right along with us. They're here right along with us, you see. I'm putting junk on the internet about Scientology and Hubbard and all that stuff. The irony is that if they hate it so much, what do they care? Why are they writing books? Why are they putting so much energy? Like Tony says, well, I'm a writer. That's why I write. I'm a writer. So he told me, well, why don't you go write about something else? Why are you so intent in writing about negative stuff about Scientology or auditors, most valuable being on the planet? Why are you doing this? Because he's been implanted to do it. He was probably one of the implanters that was pushing the lever to implant you and I. So
keeping us Earthlings dumb is people like him.
Exactly. Yeah. Because they know how if they had power, what they would be doing. They'd be doing something pretty bad. So no.
I remember seeing
abilities I got it, and I'm helping others achieve it too.
I remember seeing an interview with Richard Hoagland and Tony Ortega, and it was funny because I think Tony Ortega didn't quite know how out there Richard Hoagland is and how switched on to the truth Richard Hoagland is, because he started trashing Hubbard for talking about, you know, ancient alien civilizations and other planets and stuff. And Richard Hoagland was like, hold on a second, there full-blown is stuff on Mars and the moon, like ancient monuments from ages ago, and like was sort of correcting his false data a little bit, because Richard Hoagland is there and full-blown sees the data for it. In fact, what's interesting is it seems like Richard Hoagland prescribes to the idea that millions of years ago there was civilizations in this area, and there's stuff left behind from those civilizations. And that's why I think he's been exposed to the OT3 story, and to him, he's like, he agrees. He's like, yeah, there's structures that are really old around the universe that seem to have just been totally abandoned and disappeared. You know, like the people just fled them and left them. So I find that really interesting, because I just thought, well, how does he know that it's not 500 years ago? Why is he thinking in terms of 60 million years? I mean, that's a lot of time. And I thought that sounds crazy. But then when you think about it, when something is in outer space and it's left alone and it doesn't have the weather and all that stuff, things can last really long amount of time.
True. Richard Hoagland's a scientist. I've seen his videos and stuff like that. And he's, he calls it like it is. There was something found, I think it was like 2 or 3 months ago. There was a piece of aluminum they found. And they said it was at least 2 million years old. And aluminum was not created till recently. You know, I mean, it's been 75 years since they created aluminum. I don't know exactly when they started creating it, but it's an alloy. It's a creative thing, you know. It's created by other elements. Somebody had to sit there and create it. Yeah. So it was. There's ancient. I've seen a lot of the ancient series, ancient alien series.
Mm.
They show a lot of stuff here and on Mars and other places. The things were there. Hubbard's explanation of why is kept secret. Is to keep because it'll wake people up. Their amnesia will go away. So they don't want that, because there's a lot of loony humans here who go around shooting each other. So they want to keep it down. They want to keep. It's all controlled.
Hold on a second. Yeah, that's a good question. I'll ask you, okay? Because Richard Hoagland exposes how NASA lies about the universe so much, and I've always thought, why is the government or whatever keeping so much of our past secret from us? Why are they going and visiting the mummies that was found in the Grand Canyon and just taking them and hiding them? Like, there's some full-blown cover-up. Like, seriously, like, why is you find ancient Egyptian writings in Australia? Why is somebody trashing that and trying to cover up that like trying to make out that drunk university students did it and stuff? Like, is there some weird cover up going on? So why is NASA and the government, why are they lying to us about our history?
The same explanation that Hubbard stated, and it's real to me, because it wakes people up. Their memory will start to come back, you know. They don't want to wake people up, you know. They want to keep them here. It's a dumping ground, as Hubbard said, on the planet. Now, who's controlling the governments is, of course, the ETs. You know, they're behind it. They always were. They always will. In fact, I seen a thing on ancient aliens the other day where they finally concluded that aliens been here all along. You know, and we knew that as Scientologists. I've audited brand new people, never been in the church or nothing, and with a few sessions, they're back past life. They're on another planet, you know. So it's easy to wake them up, you see. Now, if you want to, now you notice that there are prisons, right? There are prisons in Australia, and that like here, and you don't let them out because they're bad people, right? Same thing with
Earth.
a lot of the Earthlings. They don't want to let them out. We're not supposed to go to Mars. We're not supposed to go to other planets because we're nutty. We're contaminated. We have amnesia, and we're out of control. Eat too much, drink too much, whatever. And you know that. You know, you've got to work your way out of this. You know.
Because I look into the whole UFO subject, and it seems like there are these grey aliens. It seems like they are abducting bodies and modifying the bodies, right? Which is interesting. And then you hear about some of the aliens that have dealt with the government, which are maybe the grey aliens, and they say stuff like they refer to us as the containers and stuff.
Yeah.
And they view us as like a farm, and they abduct the bodies on the farm, and they monitor the whole situation. And so it's like, it does seem very possible that we are Thetans that are getting put in these bodies, and that these aliens are monitoring the prison cell, and the bodies are like the ball and chain that are weighing us down in the prison.
You know what? You should do a lot of whole track auditing, because you like start to remember this stuff yourself. What planet you were in, what you were doing there, how you got here. All that's got to be sorted out on the case. And if you haven't sorted that out, your case hasn't been cracked yet. See? And most people out there at independent field and in the church, their case really hasn't been cracked. You're told things. Hubbard has his viewpoint, his idea, but find out what yours is. Find out what your history was, you see. And then now you start to recover who you are, and the becoming immortal becomes more and more real.
Yeah. I mean, I think Courtney Brown, the remote viewer, has written a book where he talks about how they remote viewed the aliens who are abducting people, and the aliens can influence the results of remote viewing. But they gave what data they got back was basically that it's like a farm, and it's like a farmer going and getting the cow and taking it to the doctors and then sending it back to the farm. And it's like a whole control system. And these aliens, these grey aliens, some of them are like robots. You're like, as in like, they are like artificial intelligence that are, you know, they're like the best form of a robot ever. They're not washing your dishes, but they're coming and they're abducting bodies and modifying the bodies. And so it's really interesting what's going on, but it's wild. Maybe I'll ask you one last question then.
Yeah.
Since we're on that topic, have you audited people on alien abductions?
Yes.
Okay, and what happened on that? Did they have like did they do stuff where like they analyze the body and they probe and they poke and stuff? Like, what happened to the person while they were on the ship?
That's what they do.
That's what happened. That's literally what happened in session and stuff.
Yeah.
And were they the gray beings who were there?
No, some the last person I did that with, they look human. They looked human. That's what they told me. But there's different types of aliens out there.
Yeah.
Not only the grays, there's a human type, and then there's the reptilian type. I'm sure you heard about them. And there's the insectoids, which I would call the fifth invaders. They look like insects.
The praying mantis ones.
Yeah, they look like insects, and there are different types of those guys. I've seen an alien once prancing around.
Whoa, you got to talk about that.
Yeah.
That's so...
We have to talk about that sometime.
All right, maybe I'll ask you in the future about that, okay? But we'll just finish up.
We'll cover the UFO thing and the whole
Okay, but we'll just finish. But how often do you come across people who are abducted, and is it the same type of alien each time? And are they doing the same type of thing each time?
A little different each time. It's a little different a little different, but that's similar. In fact, I audited this one guy who lost 4 hours. He didn't know what was going on, so we recovered that memory, and it was aliens. At the same time, about 30 years later, I was auditing this other person who was telling me about an abduction they had. Say the first guy's abduction was in 1976, right? So 30 years later, I was talking to somebody who had the same abduction in the same area in 1976.
Oh, wow. So you reckon they were picking up a few people that night?
So they were picking up a lot of people back then,
Was it in the same area, did you say?
Same area.
Oh,
same
yeah.
area.
Yeah.
It was around the Bay Area, around San Francisco, out there, around there. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, now what technique of auditing were you using? Is this just standard Dynetics or what?
Well, there's a lot of different types of, Hubbard talks about this on a bulletin, about different types of counseling. There's auditor, that's a type of counseling. There's ethics counseling, marriage counseling. So with this technique, you can use Dynetics to recover memory. So I think I used Dynetics on this one guy. This other person, we weren't doing a live on the cans. It was just a two-way communication, and we were able to use that to dig up the memory. So there's different techniques. I got up to class 12 techniques to use on somebody with or without a meter. I can use them. I can audit people with and without a meter because of the techniques I got and the TRs that I've been trained to do.
All right, great. We'll wrap this up, but in the future I'll talk to you again, yeah. And there's a few more things I want to ask you about.
All right, and then also I was going to see if you I would like to take a trip down there, Australia. If you can gather a bunch of people who are willing to finance it, I'm willing to go down there and audit people and talk about this stuff for a few days and get other people's questions answered. I've been to New Zealand, but that was like 35 years ago. It was quite a while ago. So I'd like to get that back down there just for the fun of it.
Yeah, you want to see what it. So when were you last in Australia?
No, I never made it to Australia. I went to New Zealand.
Well, that'll be interesting. You probably you always learn something by visiting a new country and seeing how things are.
I've been all over Europe. I've been to Switzerland, Austria, Germany. Well, I wouldn't say all over Europe because I haven't been to France yet. But anyway.
Yeah, I get case gain from seeing a different area and like just the knowledge I get from I understand things more by visiting a different area.
Oh yeah. You get more of an expansion. I've been in Japan and of course Hawaii, all over the U.S. So I like to see what other people are doing. Do you have a crowd down there? Do you have people down there, Australia?
It's pretty small. No, it's pretty small. I mean, Sydney's got a Ronzor group that's functioning, but it's not like they've got their own centre. Sydney's got a bit of a scene going on, but they need to get an org set up. Like they can do it. They've got some auditors and stuff, and
if we get all together, I could bring people, maybe the OT8, OT9 stuff. People who want that. I know the Captain Bill people don't offer that. You can't get stuck. You can't get stuck on one kind of thing.
That's a really good. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah, I mean, you need to. And that's why the travel thing is also really good because you get stuck in in living where you are and seeing everything from that point of view. And then when you travel, you go, oh, whoa. And I find it really keys me out because I go, whoa, this is how this is. And like, you learn so much and you realize I woke up to the church by, not being involved with the church. For like the last year that I was in the church, I wasn't really involved because I was sort of out and living, doing other stuff in the everyday world. And I could learn heaps because I was out of that scene, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, see what you can do there, and we'll talk to you later.
Yeah, I'll talk to people, and I was going to say, so you deliver at your center, you deliver the bridge and stuff, and you're in Reno.
Everything, yeah.
Yeah, and what's your website?
Pardon?
What's your website?
It's called Free Zone Worldwide, or what's the other one? Data Alliance.
Yep. .com.
.com, yeah.
Freezoneworldwide.com.
Yeah, and dataalliance.com.
Dataalliance.com.
Yeah. Double check. Yep.
Dataalliance.com.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're in Reno, right?
Reno, Nevada, yeah.
And that's like what, 5 hours north of Vegas or something?
No, about 8 hours. And then
wow, are you serious? Wow.
Yeah. And then let me see, so we're about 4 or 5 hours from east of San Francisco.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. So you're pretty far from LA then. You're probably like 9 hours from LA or something.
Yeah, 9 hours from LA driving. Yeah.
Wow, but it's okay. But it's not that far from San Francisco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, great. Well, I'll let you go, and thanks for doing the interview.
All right.
Thanks.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Great. So that was my interview, part 3 with Rey Robles. His contact details will be in the comments section. Well, it's now time to end off the podcast, but before I end off, I've got to end off with an LRH quote. And this is what it is. It says, "The defense of anything is untenable," which means unable to be maintained. The only way to defend anything is to attack. And if you ever forget that, then you will lose every battle you are ever engaged in, whether it is in terms of personal conversation, public debate, or a court of law. Never be interested in charges. Do yourself much more charging, and you will win. L. Ron Hubbard. Well, that's a very it's very aggressive, it's very alpha male way of approaching things, and I guess I agree with it. Because it seems like I imagine he's thinking a lot about the court system when he wrote this. Because Scientology and he were getting attacked a lot through the court system, and it's one way that SPs use to bring people down is they just sue them. Because people don't really know this, but you can sue anyone over anything. There's no rule saying you're not allowed to sue someone. Do you know what I mean? Like, so it's like, otherwise, what happens if you got somebody who's going along in life and people keep on screwing him over, so then, he should have the right to be able to sue. Like, there's no cap that's like, in your life, you're only allowed to sue someone 5 times or something like that. There's no rule like that. You're allowed to sue anyone, and the court system needs to respect that and needs to look into each individual case and see what happened and who's right and who's wrong and sort it out. And so SPs, of course, take advantage of this and go, well, let's just keep on suing this guy over anything, right? And then the guy has to run into hiding so that he doesn't continually get served with legal papers. Because if no one knows where you live, if no one can find you, then how can you get sued? You see what I mean? And this is the truth about what Hubbard was doing in the last few years of his life, and Howard Hughes. They were literally in hiding so that they couldn't get sued. And Howard Hughes actually faked his own death so that he got left alone to do his interesting work, because he was actually, I think, had some big government contracts and was doing some real interesting stuff. I think he's a part of the whole flying saucer thing. He was out in Vegas and all that, which is very close to Area 51. So yeah, he had to fake his own death or whatever. But you know, like Hubbard mentions this sort of stuff in Mission Earth. This is why Mission Earth is such a cool book. Yeah, I do think it goes on for too long though. But yeah, SPs take advantage of this and they just sue people over ridiculous things. Like look at Alex Jones. He was getting sued over just saying that the Sandy Hook thing was a false flag. And it's just like, what a silly thing. Oh, the family's upset because it's a false flag. And then also there was somebody who did some attack on the families, right? And they're blaming Alex Jones for that because the guy listened to Alex Jones. And it's just like, Alex Jones has nothing to do with it. I mean, this guy, whatever guy did a dodgy thing, he's the one who should be punished and he's the one who should be held accountable. You know, not some radio show host. You know, that's absolute rubbish. You know, if I told someone right now to go kill someone or something and they did it, then I shouldn't get in trouble for that, you know? The person who killed the thing, like, it's just ridiculous. It's just a bizarre, backwards, silly system, and Hubbard makes fun of our legal system in Mission Earth because aliens come across it and they're like, what the hell is this nutty planet? Like, it's just such a backward place. Yeah, so I think he's sort of saying, you know, you be a fighter and you attack other people so that, you know, so they're scared of you. Anyway, I could see how this could kind of not get applied correctly by the church and it can run into some problems. I think you need to have a very intelligent person doing this and you need to have a well-funded OSA in order to apply this properly. But if you do this half-assed, you'll attack people and you'll piss them off and then you'll run into all these problems in the future, which is, I think, what OSA ended up... I think that's what ended up happening to OSA, really. So that's, again, this is like this quote and Hubbard's auditing, it's just like it's for able beings. It's, you either you do it right and you have to make sure you do it right. Otherwise, you know, you can stuff up. You're playing with fire here. It could potentially backfire, you know. So I'll read that quote again. The defense of anything is untenable. The only way to defend anything is to attack. And if you ever forget that, then you will lose every battle you are ever engaged in, whether it is in terms of personal conversation, public debate, or a court of law. Never be interested in charges. Do yourself much more charging, and you will win. L. Ron Hubbard. And don't want to give you an example, right? I got sued once over writing a comment on someone's website, like a Google comment. And it didn't say like completely outrageous lies. It just said, I was unhappy with this person. He's untrustworthy. And it's just like a typical bad 1-star review that always happens. And the system's designed so that if someone's unhappy with the service, you're allowed to write a bad 1-star review. But some guy sued me over it. And you're just like, that's how ridiculous things are. And the court system has to respect the cases they get given, because what if the guy is right, you know? So you can't just read it and go, well, that's ridiculous, we're not going to accept this case. You have to actually look at the whole case and look at all the information and then decide whether or not it's ridiculous and dismiss it. And when that happens, right, when these ridiculous cases get dismissed, of course, you've wasted your time and money. So that's the trick that they use. They just sue people over ridiculous things so that they're busy wasting their time and their money handling stupid little things, and the person ends up winning the case anyway. But in the end, they've really lost because they've had to waste their time dealing with a stupid case. But people don't realize how ridiculous the world is, and I didn't realize until I had some instances in the legal system, and the penny dropped is just like, whoa, this place is just batshit crazy, and most lawyers are just making money off representing the government and keeping these cases in the court system for years, and it's just a joke. And then I read Mission Earth, and Hubbard just backs up exactly what my experiences were and is just totally right, and I can full on understand what he says in that book. So that's why it's like Mission Earth is a great book, but it's almost like it's too complex. Like, unless you've got, I don't know, I don't think people can appreciate or understand how accurate that story is. Like, for example, in the story, the judge, it's such a funny story, that they'll be sitting waiting in court for their court case, and they'll be listening into the other court cases. And so, like, you would hear the judge's decisions. Just Hubbard depicts the court system in such a funny way. Like, it's just because he depicts how it is. He does tweak it. He makes it a little bit more colorful and a little bit more exaggerated, but it really is what it's like, right? And so the judge is like, oh, okay, so Sally slipped on concrete. Oh, $35 million payout. You know what I mean? And it's just like that. This sort of ridiculous stuff goes on in our legal system where like someone will just get $35 million for like slipping over on concrete. And it's just like, it's just ridiculous, right? I'll give you an example. The church was getting sued in the 80s, and somebody had some experience with the church and they just didn't like it and they wanted their money back or something. And they sued the church. This is what caused the whole Portland riots and stuff. They sued the church, and the court was going to rule 35 million, some ridiculous figure, to this person. I mean, you know how absolutely ridiculous that is. Like, what the hell? Like, the person was a normal person. Like, imagine me. I go into the Church of Scientology. I go in there. I go half the way up the bridge. I get upset because of the outtake or something like that, and then I leave. And then I say, I'm upset because of that. I'm going to sue the church for $35 million. You'll just be like, Andy, why should the church give you $35 million? At the absolute most, you should get the money that you spent on your courses, which was like $150,000 or something. Like, it's batshit crazy, but this actually happened, right? And the person got $35 million. It makes you wonder, when Hubbard wrote Mission Earth, because we could look at the timing of it. If when Hubbard entered that little ridiculous court case into the story, if that was just after the Portland ruling was going to be, actually that was about the same time. So maybe, Hubbard already knew the court system did this where they just paid out ridiculous amounts, right? But it could be that it influenced his idea because of this Portland court case to put that thingo into the story. That'll be an interesting way to sort of, if you analyze that and you looked at what time exactly when the Portland case was, you could work out if he was writing Mission Earth, because this was from probably volume 7 of the Mission Earth books, so it was a fair of the way in. So that's interesting, because as I've been going along, I've been trying to fact check like the date of when this Mission Earth book was written, and I totally think it was written 83 onwards, totally up in like 83, 84, 85, totally. Like it seems like that's all the evidence is indicating that. I don't think he wrote it earlier than that. He literally, and the fact that it waffles on for 10 books, he could have cut it down to like 7 books or 8 books and have a really cool, punchy story, but he just sort of waffles on like he's literally casual and is in retirement and doesn't really care. Like, because he just makes certain scenes go on for too long. So, anyway, whatever. So, that's it for today's show. It's time for you to climb back out of this rabbit hole, out of this interesting Scientology world. I've been your host, Andy Nolch, the Space Cowboy. You have been listening to the Indie Scientology podcast. So remember, what you thought was impossible is possible.